heart of Vienna, the old town of the central part of Vienna, is a marvelous spot. There's a large pedestrian zone that extends through the middle of town along what's called the Graben and the side streets that radiate out from it. And throughout this zone you have a mix of shops and restaurants and cafes and great opportunities for people watching and fabulous architecture. Vienna is the result of a long series of historical events that have brought us to this incredible splendor. It was the center of the Habsburg Empire. Who were the Habsburgs? Well, that was a royal family that ruled for 650 years. And what you see today is the result of that long reign. And there's many leftover remnants, including items you might pick up for a bargain at a flea market on the sidewalks. Here, every day in one part of the city or another, there's a different kind of a street fair. You'll have the local artisans displaying their wares. You'll have some antiques. Of course, you can find high fashion in the clothing boutiques as well. So shopping can certainly be on your agenda when you're visiting Vienna. Among other things you can do in this city are take a horse and buggy ride. You'll find the ubiquitous buggy all over the center of town, and the driver will ride you around and give you a little talk about the history as you travel down these many side streets together. Little shopping gallerias, Baroque building facades from the 18th century are scattered all over town. Muscular giants of stone holding up buildings is one of the beloved themes of Austrian architecture. And it's also a modern city. For example, here we are in a very up-to-date internet cafe. That's right, you can go online and have your cup of coffee at the same time here, email back home to the folks, or catch up on the latest news, or have a look at your CNN weather report for your next couple of days' activities, and then go hop on the trolley and take a trip around the ring. The Ringstrasse, that is, the ring road that circles the central heart of old Vienna. And this delightful electric tram will take you on the circuit route. And you'll pass a number of beautiful monuments, including the Parliament building, constructed here in the neoclassical style, a 19th century structure, and then passing the two museums that face each other, the Natural History Museum on the right, and on the left, the Kunsthistorisches Museum, the Art Museum of Vienna. And we're going to take you inside this incredible museum right now. A statue of Maria Theresa sits out front, looking over it, into the grand entranceway. Look at this staircase. It's an impressive entree to one of the world's great collections of fine arts. The experience of actually entering this building and walking through the galleries and seeing the paintings and sculpture firsthand is so profound and so impressive that it's really kind of unfortunate to present it to you here just in pictures and video, but we'll do our best to give you a feeling for what it's like to actually be there. Among these great pieces by Caravaggio, for example, here's a bronze by Bernini, and here's a marble by Bernini. We have great works of the Italian Renaissance, Caravaggio's David. We have works from the Netherlands and from Spain and from Austria and Germany. And there's events happening in the museum. There's lectures. There's artists at work making high-quality copies of the originals. Let's have a look at this fellow and see how he's doing. Magnifying glass, little stick to help steady his hand. Here's a serious painter who's attracting quite the audience. And his copy is looking every bit as good as the original. This amazing collection was built up over a nearly 500-year period, especially during the 17th century, when the Habsburg dynasty had very many important connections throughout Europe. They were married to the royalty of Spain. They were ruling the Netherlands. They influenced most of Germany, northern Italy. So Caravaggio, Raphael, and the other great masters of the time were easily collected. Lorenzo Lato in a work of near photographic clarity. Works by Giorgione, the great Venetian master, and also Bellini, likewise a great artist from Venice were collected at this time.
That's really
And the list goes on. Mantegna, Bellini's brother-in-law. The head of David, a common motif in the world of art. The Habsburgs put it all together as a private collection, including Vivarini's late medieval altarpiece, and then they opened it up for public viewing in 1781, which was the first time that art had ever been open to the public, and therefore this is the oldest art museum in the world, including the largest collection of Velázquez outside of Spain. You see, the Habsburgs were interested in marrying into the Spanish royal family, and Velázquez painted these as more or less snapshots of what the Spanish royal family looked like. The original picture brides. Velázquez, one of the greatest portraitists in the history of art. Another great master, Annibale Carracci from Bologna. A work by Pietro da Cortona. It's particularly strong in the collections of the Italian Renaissance. The works of Canaletto from Venice. The Judgment of Paris, the choice of perfect beauty. Well, after so much art stimulation, you do need a little break, and the perfect spot for it is the cafe in the rotunda of the museum. Is this the most beautiful coffee shop you've ever seen? 100 kinds of marble make up the elements of this grand building. The structure itself is just about 100 years old, but the collections are hung very much in the way they were collected centuries ago, including Rembrandt's mother, Rubens' Simone and Iphigenia, and many other paintings by this great Flemish artist grace the walls here. Rubens was a diplomat as well as a painter, and since the Habsburgs controlled the Netherlands, they ended up with the largest, most important collection of Rubens to be found any place, including a sensual portrait of his second wife. The most famous segment of the collection here are many works by Bruegel. There was a time when Bruegel was simply considered a jester on canvas, but nowadays we look upon him as a philosophical interpreter of the world. The hunters returning in winter, children at play, the marriage of the peasants, the return of the flock, the Tower of Babel. These are all here on full-scale exhibit at the museum, an entire room devoted to Bruegel. And finally, from the picture gallery, a work by Hans Memling, a near photorealist of the early Netherlands school of painting. There's also works in the collection by Van Eyck and by Vermeer. Many more paintings to be seen in the Vienna Museum. Now let's have a quick look at their classical collections. On the ground floor you'll find hundreds of statues from ancient Greece and ancient Rome. Nicely displayed. There is no need for glass cases or ropes to keep you away from the pieces so that you can walk around them and see them in all of their three-dimensional grandeur. You know, as the ancient Greeks in 500 BC who created the concept of realism in sculpture. But for nearly 1,000 years before them, the ancient Egyptians were creating incredible works of art. And in the museum we have reproductions of the temples themselves. You walk into this gallery and it's like you're transported back to Egypt in 1500 BC. The architecture has been recreated and the sculptures are original from that time period. The lion god, Horus, gold funeral masks, sarcophagi of all types and shapes with mummies inside, the papyrus pillars that held up the roofs of the ancient temples. It's quite a sight, and it's all here in the Kunsthistorisches Museum in the heart of Vienna. You could easily spend a day or two inside, but we reluctantly leave. We're running out of time, but we hope the 5 minutes has given you a good feeling for the incredible riches inside this museum. Certainly ranks in the top 3 museums in Europe, along with the National Gallery in London and the Louvre in Paris. What a spot. The grandeur of the Habsburgs.